Hello, hello. This is my first official YouTube video. Um, so welcome. I am super excited to be sharing 5 days of videos right now for the art of life and how to create it, digital course, live events, this whole essence of the art of life and how to create it. That is so special to my heart. It feels like it is my life's work that I have been working on purpose, deliberately, for almost 17 years. That's a long time. And since I decided to take a year off of social media, Facebook, Instagram, we're now end of March. That has given me so much space to truly see, hear, and feel what I've created and who I've become over the last 17 years without the noise of social media, without me leaking my energy out and sharing it and, taking it in, and all the ways that we are interacting with social media, especially nowadays when it is the energy in the collective is super heightened and can feel super divisive, however you say that, full of fear. It's ripe with energy that will take you out of how you want to be creating your life, and it'll take you all sorts of different places if you are not conscious, if you are not actively having a intentional interaction with social media. So all of that to say, I know that for myself, that was definitely true, especially over the last, 5 years since 2020. So as soon as I actually don't know what prompted the social media thing. Well, I guess I kind of do. But all of that to say, I just trusted the timing of the nudge for me when it was time to get off socials. And so that line in the sand, like many through our lives, was a clear choice for me to use my time and energy a lot more deliberately. And the fruits of that are what we're going to experience moving forward with my work and how I'm sharing it with the world. Teaching is not new to me. Creating a school, in fact, is not new to me. Creating courses, events, all of that, it's all woven through what I've created many times. And now this time, it just feels so much more rooted, grounded, very sure of the things that I'm here to teach, because I've paid attention long enough, and even just like through my own journey, that humans need, I mostly speak to women, so women need to really practice the fundamentals, the bits and pieces, the boring stuff over and over again, to learn how to create a life that they truly are like wildly in love with. And so I'm going to share a little bit with you about what the art of life is to me, and how my life as an artist, actually through the last 16 years of physically making things, has really influenced this way of being able to teach it through the frameworks of like how we create our life, because it's actually not different. And I really have been geeking out on this for, a while now. So let's get started. I want to do the intro so that those of you that are here because you're interested in the course that I'm offering or the, live events that'll be coming up. I want you to feel and know that the intention is to always be sharing through my own experience, because really, like, that's all that I know. I can only teach from the truth of what I've experienced, the truth of how I was very much experiencing life in one way to an extreme. I do life in extremes. So the extremes of feeling shame, guilt, those two were so palpably real for me in my life, um, for a very long time. Um, Addiction, self-neglect, abuse, lots of big, intense feelings and emotions and actions and repercussions from the actions. So this is the art, really, of like how we move through in our own paths. We all have our own different paths, but we are also human, and we run our experiences through lenses that then affect how we receive information and give information. So there's always a hardware program, a software program. We are mechanical in nature, and that's what I kind of geek out about too. My dad is a mechanic, and as much as the relationship that I have with my father and had with my father isn't what I would probably yearn for, I did, and I can still feel it here and there. I am grateful for the things that I have received in the way of just probably how he looks at life, looks at projects, how he's willing to get messy in, the end goal of what he's trying to create, and learn the bits and pieces of that so well so that he can create a beautiful motorcycle. He's a motorcycle mechanic and by trade. But so it's interesting, the different things that we gather from our parents, no matter what our relationships are through life and in our current reality. So what is the art of life? To me, it really is about embracing the messy parts of how we create life, the highs and lows, and the alive feelings, and all of it. We are here as humans on this earth, and I particularly think that right now, while we're in the global landscape that we're in, we're kind of like in the advanced class. We're getting a master's degree, a doctorate, I don't know, all the highest education things that you can think of, in how to really do life well, because there is such polarity in the consciousness right now. If we are not deliberately creating the balancing part of it, then we will continue to feel and be taken over by, the energies and the experiences and the beliefs and the thoughts and emotions that don't serve us when we are really desiring to create our lives. So the highs and the lows, this also in the reflection of creating physical art and creating things with your hands, to the reflection of life is gathering tools and learning how to use them. So again, for my journey, I learned early on that, and I guess I learned this more through the act of creating, because when I first started my healing journey, I was, divinely guided to be counseled by a sexual assault therapist that, there's no mistakes, that asked me to start to paint my feelings. you know, it's still, your body, it's so interesting too. Like our bodies are so beautiful. We are always still moving and processing. And, um, you can hear different things in our voices, especially when we're speaking of those moments. And, in my belief, we are never like completely done with anything because what we've been through is always informing who we're becoming. So, yeah, take that as you will. She asked me to paint my feelings, and that really truly opened up something special for me in the way of um, using my creative energy, what I know now is life force energy. Like we're always, always, always creating. And I'll get deeper into these beautiful concepts as we go through the weeks and through the week and through the course. Um, but I really was able to start to feel my creative energy moving differently when I was interacting with painting. And then I started painting with leaves, and I got a camera and I started taking pictures. Like, again, remember, I'm an intense sort of extreme all in person. So and thankfully, again, there was no mistakes and everything is on time. um I chose a husband for this lifetime journey that is willing to see that creativity is a powerful thing, and that for me, he saw that that was something that was really helping like me move baby step, baby step, baby step. So he supported when I was like, okay, I want a camera, okay, I want this. And it's also very, very cool, and why I believe everything is so beautifully set up for our growth. Like the family that he came from, his mom was super, super creative. So his mom has I think there's 6 girls. They are all creative with their hands. And his grandma and his grandma's, like, he came from that beautiful, like, old school generation that made a lot with their hands. So he intrinsically understood the value of it. And I am forever deeply grateful. And I put that together a long time ago that, I came from this type of family and into this type of family that is still together and communes, and like I got to feel what family really felt like, and he supported that. So that's a little tangent, but it's an important one in a lot of ways to recognize that the relationships that we have are always imperative to our growth, no matter how devastating they can feel. They are a part of our path, the threads that we are weaving through this lifetime. And so as you're gathering tools, so I'm speaking again to the reflection of how the act of creating art is reflecting the act of creating the art of our lives. So as I began to really learn for myself that using my creative energy in this way felt good and alive, and I recognized that it was helping me. And so I gathered tools and I learned how to use them. And I got really good at learning how to use them, because there was a choice point for me at the beginning of my journey where I knew that I wasn't going to live this life anymore, and that I was now going to live a different type of life, that I was not available. And this is so, so important too. And we'll get into this more deeper in the course. I was not available for that type of energy exchange that I was creating, that I was led by God in miraculous ways through injury in Australia to come home and heal and get a knee surgery. Like the universe literally took my knees out so I couldn't do the things that I was doing before. And so I had to move home from Australia to get a knee surgery. met my husband after writing in my journal that I was ready for my partner. Beautiful story, threads of harmony, always threads. We'll get more into that, but um, I understood that I was drawing a line in the sand and then I was going to be learning. I flunked out of college. I barely passed high school. I was a brat in all the schools, always getting kicked out of class, all of that. Like, you can kind of feel an understanding for the history of my life before that. And I'll get deeper into that in the course, um, and how it relates to, the parts of the healing journey. But I understood that I was drawing a line in the sand. I made a deep, deep, deep commitment that has never stopped, that will never stop. And I knew that I was going to do whatever it took to create a life where it was different than what I grew up in, because I was pregnant with my first son and we have 3 now. And so I began to recognize that creating with my hands was really helping me, and I didn't stop. And that just kept snowballing and snowballing beautifully, growing and growing into a lot of beautiful opportunities that I created for myself. But the most important point here is that I gathered tools. I'm looking at my notes. And I used them repeatedly, both in the art form that I was involved in, because there's been many. I've explored a lot of different mediums in this life so far, creating. And, I go to this extreme. I try and create mastery in that. I've been in magazines and publications and podcasts and stores. I learned to put the creative energy that lives in me and the intention so fiercely into what I was creating that it was then received very well. And it's not different for life either, right? So we're gathering the tools. The art of life is gathering the tools and using them, like actually fucking using them, and allowing the slow, boring micro shifts to be it's not the destination, it's the journey. We love that beautiful saying, but it's literally the most true thing that I can reflect of this journey so far. And there has been times where I've really wanted to like skip ahead or go faster, but I wasn't ready, I think it's so interesting, like in those times where you think you really, really want to go faster, from an energetic place, you're probably really uncomfortable in what is coming up at that certain point for you to be looking at and using your tools and getting really masterful at, so that you can alchemize the creative chaos. So here's another beautiful point of weaving the art of life, weaving the threads of harmony through your life, is if you're anything like me and you've had experiences that the inner chaos created the outer chaos, I've learned over time that it's the same beautiful creative energy, always has, always will, as long as we're breathing. But you learn to alchemize it. You learn to transmute that through the unsexy, boring work of looking at your thoughts, your beliefs, your feelings. And it really is about being present with that. And you do that by gathering your tools, using your tools, and becoming masterful with those tools, just like art, just like artists do, just like athletes do. I love listening to stories about, people that have created what the outer world views as success, but also like you can see it in athletes. I was an athlete when I was younger, and I, again, obsessively intense with the things that I did, and I didn't get to levels of mastery, but I understand how they're moving their focus and their energy because they're doing the same thing over and over and over again, over and over and over again. And the little tweaks get them excited. The little things that they're doing to, increase their speed, increase their lift power, increase whatever it is that their dominant skill set requires. And in today's world, we are so we are so distracted, and we want to be defined by this quick success sometimes. And we want to get out of the feelings, really, of feeling uncomfortable where we are. So we try and skip. And, I've been there, done that. I probably still do it in ways. But over time, when you decide, like, it all always starts with a choice. And I don't care. I'm not available for the belief that it doesn't start with choice. No matter where we are on the spectrum of life, circumstances, all of it. We were given these sets of laws in this realm to use them. They're the same laws that are used in nature. Like it's literally mathematically patterned into this world, and choice is the part of it. It's just the part of it. And so, yeah, we'll get into that a little bit more as we go. So I'm just reading my notes here. Yeah, you're learning. So through the art of life, you're learning how to shape your creative energy that you hold, which we all hold, which nature holds. And this beautiful spring season, I love the timing of this. Again, everything is timed beautifully. You're going to be able to actually see the physical 3D printout of nature's creation coming into bloom. We're no different. The fruits you're seeing on the trees are created by the roots. And the roots of our experience, we must nourish. And we nourish that through the deliberate creation, the deliberate planting of seeds, the deliberate tending to those seeds, and loving and tending to the soil. And, this analogy is not new. But it's so, so powerful because we know like we know like we know. Okay? So as a life artist, let's call it that. Actually, one of the things that that came through as I've been curating this is harmony weavers. That's what I want to call us. This community is because my brand, what God gave me to work through, is called Threads of Harmony. And man, if that has not been the most truest reflection of life, I'm still unraveling what all of that means. But the intention for this community is to be harmony weavers, is to weave harmony through your past, your present, and your future. You can completely change your past and how you view yourself, the people in it, everything, by changing your perception of it. And I've done it over and over and over again. And there's so much freedom and energy that becomes released within you and your creative, how you're moving your creative energy, so that you can create more of what you want to create. You can receive more. You can have the capacity to hold the good feelings. We've learned to have capacity to hold the shitty, fearful, stuck, limiting beliefs, and to use them as the filters that we are moving our creative energy through. I really want you to hear that. So through the art of life, through using your tools, through, gathering your tools, using them over and over and over again, even though it feels boring and you're like, I thought I was done with this over all of this year, over all of this work over the years. I chuckle at when women say to me, like, I thought I was done with that. And like, I get it. I totally get it. I totally get it. And also, like, we're never done. And wait, I want to preface that by saying, when you're using your tools, when you're using the fundamental practices, when you're using the laws of the universe, when you're doing the work, it lessens in the frequency of the bad, fearful things that we're holding on to, emotions, beliefs, all of that, they dissipate, right? Because we're transmuting them. So over time, the energy of how it feels, especially in the beginning when you're doing the work, lessens over time. So that essentially you probably think you're done with it, but it's always going to inform how you view life, move through life, and from a place of wisdom, right? So it's in your blueprint, really. What you've experienced, especially what you've experienced in the first part of your life, I would even say till the age of 21, but we've all heard like the first 7 years are super important. I would go beyond and say like the first, 21 years, because most of the time we're like with or around our parents more in that area. Caregivers, immediate family, then we really start to like branch out more, but we're deeply impacted. Our blueprints are impacted way more easily when we're kind of more in that vulnerable, type of childhood life experience. So over time it dissipates. And when you look at your blueprint, it's always going to be there. And there's also the blueprint of your astrology, when you were born, your skin color, all of it, right? It's always going to inform. And also you have the innate creative power within you to transform how you're experiencing that, always, forever, ever. And you also have the universal laws that are governing this realm that were given to us to thrive. So when you're really working with those, you're moving with life. You're moving with life, and it feels like flow. It feels like harmony. It feels so beautiful and expansive. I cannot tell you how often I well up in tears and just deep, deep gratitude for where I am now. And that doesn't mean like monetarily or success-wise. It is successful to me to be where I am in here and in my body, and just how I'm moving the energy of life through me to create the relationships I want to create, to create the art that I want to create in the world, to really just having this beautiful ebb and flow of dynamics, to still be able to, when I do bump up against things that are painful, because it's still there for me, that I'm always going to be moving through things that are, challenging, but I have this excellent, excellent toolkit that I've been honing in for a very long time, almost 2 decades. What's funny? When I started this work, when I started to share more of it out on socials, I had people reach out to me from my past being like, I never saw this coming for you. I never saw this coming. I would never have guessed that who you were then is who you are now. So that kind of gives you a little bit of a, I knew how to use my creative energy to be intense in a a deeply destructive way. And I hurt people around me. I hurt myself most of all, but I was hurting. And owning those parts of me has been so fucking freeing because no one can touch that in me anymore. Because I fully owned that I was the bully. I fully owned that I was a cheater, a thief, a liar, like all of these really intense, again, extreme. I think that that's part of my blueprint was to come into this life and experience things in extreme so that I can like bring it back into here and teach about it, and maybe someone that experiences extremes or doesn't, can learn how to more gracefully move our creative energy. Because like the whole premise of the teachings that I'm delivering all come down to how you're moving your creative energy, because if you're breathing, you're creating. End of story. Okay, that's the first video for the art of life and how to create it. So the next 4 videos will get more into some of the fundamentals that'll be happening in the modules. And that way you can get a feel for if it's something that you want to learn, wherever you're at on your journey. If you like how I speak and teach, I will give you my number 1 advice about choosing a teacher. If you see yourself in their journey, if you feel safe and connected and inspired by how they speak and show up and live, choose a teacher from that grounded place. I have chosen teachers from places that when I was like in my hurry up phase and I just want to get here and I want to like bypass that and I want what she has, from an ungrounded place versus like take a breath, be with how I speak, be with how I teach, see if it feels safe and resonant with you. Then we can go on the adventure of, the art of life and how to create a digital course for women. So I'm super excited. Thank you for listening. This is my life's work, and I am deeply, deeply grateful to be here and be able to share the impactful things that I've learned over this journey, and in hopes that it will help guide you on your journey too. Okay, love you. Bye.